The eighth insight, the interpersonal ethic. How to relate to each other. The eighth insight is about how humans will eventually learn to relate to each other. It talks about how to project energy to others and how to avoid addictions to people. It is about using this energy in a new way when relating to people in general, but it begins at the beginning with children. Relating to children. We should view them as they really are, as endpoints in evolution that lead us forward. In order to learn to evolve, they need our energy on a constant basis, unconditionally. The worst thing that can be done to children is to drain their energy while correcting them. This is what creates control dramas in them, as you already know from past insights. But these learned manipulations on the child's part can be avoided if the adults give them all the energy they need, no matter what the situation. That is why they should always be included in conversations, especially conversations about them. You should never take responsibility for more children than you could give attention to.
Relating to children continued. Always find a way to tell a child the truth, even if the truth is complicated. Attempt to explain it to the child so they can understand. Treat childlike questions seriously, and then avoid the temptation of providing fanciful answers. If you try not to tease the children for your amusement, give one-on-one attention when possible. Try to always have an adult to answer their questions. Providing this sincere attention will enable the child to not feel like they had to act out or show off. If you provide an abundance of energy, that will provide the secure foundation of abundance, and this will make the transition from receiving energy from adults to getting it from the universe easier to grasp.
Why is number of children important? One adult can only focus on and give attention to one child at a time. If there are too many children for the number of adults, then the adults become overwhelmed and unable to give enough energy. The children begin to compete with each other for the adult's time, known as sibling rivalry. We glamorize the idea of large families and children growing up together, but children should learn the world from adults, not from other children. In too many cultures, children are running in gangs. The manuscript says humans will slowly understand that they should not bring children into the world unless there is at least one adult committed to focus full attention, all of the time, on each child. In instances where both parents work, the manuscript says humans will learn to extend their families beyond blood ties, so that someone else is able to provide one-on-one attention. All the energy does not have to come from the parents alone. In fact, it is better if it does not. But whoever cares for the children must provide this one-on-one attention.
Addiction to another person. When one first learns to be clear and to engage one's evolution, any of us can be stopped, suddenly, by an addiction to another person. Power struggles arise in romantic relationships as a result of the flow of energy between the individuals involved. When love first happens, the two individuals are giving each other energy unconsciously, and both people feel buoyant and elated. That's the incredible high we all call being in love. Unfortunately, once they expect this feeling to come from the other person, they cut themselves off from the energy in the universe and begin to rely even more on the energy from each other. Only now there doesn't seem to be enough, so they stop giving each other energy and fall back into their dramas in an attempt to control each other and force the other's energy their way. At this point, the relationship degenerates into the usual power struggle. Addiction continued. The problem starts in our early family. Because of the energy competition in there, none of us were able to complete an important psychological process. We weren't able to integrate our opposite sexual side. When you don't integrate your male and female side, you can become addicted to someone of the opposite sex, because we've yet to access this opposite sex energy ourselves. The mystical energy that we can tap as an inner source is both male and female. We can eventually open up to it, but when we first begin to evolve, we have to be careful. The integration process takes some time. If we connect prematurely with a human source for our female or male energy, we block the universal supply.
Opposite sex energy. In any family, the child must first receive energy from the adults in their life, usually identifying with and integrating the energy of the same-sex parent is accomplished easily, But receiving energy from the other parent can be more difficult because of the differences in the sexes. Let's use a female child as an example. All the little girl knows as she first attempts to integrate her male side is that she's extremely attracted to her father. She wants him around and close to her all the time. The manuscript explains that what she really wants is male energy, because this male energy complements her female side. From this male energy, she receives a sense of completion and euphoria. But she mistakenly thinks that the only way to have this energy is by possessing her father and keeping him close physically. Interestingly, because she intuits that this energy is really supposed to be her own and that she should be able to command this energy at will, she wants to direct the father as if he were that part of herself. She thinks he is a magical and perfect and able to supply her every whim. In a less than ideal family, this sets up a power conflict between the little girl and her dad. Dramas are formed as she learns to posture herself in order to manipulate him into giving her the energy she desires.
Opposite sex energy slide 2. In an ideal family, the father would remain uncompetitive. He will continue to relate honestly and have enough energy so as to supply her unconditionally, even though he can't do everything she asks. The important thing to know here, in our ideal example, is that the father would remain open and communicative. She thinks he is ideal and magical, but if he honestly explains who he is and what he is doing and why, then the little girl can integrate his particular style and abilities and proceed past an unrealistic view of her father. In the end, she will see him just as a particular human being, a human being with his own talents and faults. Once this true emulation takes place, then the child makes an easy transition from receiving her opposite sex energy from her father to receiving it as part of the overall energy existing in the universe at large. Most parents up to now have been competing with their own children for energy, and that has affected all of us. Because this competition was taking place, none of us have quite resolved this opposite sex issue. We're all stuck at this stage where we are all still looking for opposite sex energy outside of ourselves. In the person of a male or female, we can think of as ideal and magical and can possess sexually. Beware of cutting yourself off from the universal energy. In terms of our ability to evolve consciously, we are faced with a critical situation. When we first begin to evolve, we automatically begin to receive our opposite sex energy. It comes in naturally from the energy in the universe. But we must be careful, because if another person comes along who offers this energy directly, we can cut ourselves off from the true source and regress. Until we learn how to avoid this situation, we are walking around like a circle half complete. We look like the letter C. We are very susceptible to a person of the opposite sex. Some of the circle half complete, coming up and joining with us, completing the circle that way, and giving us a burst of euphoria and energy that feels like the wholeness that a full connection with the universe produces. In reality, we have only joined up with another person who is looking for their other half on the outside too.
Codependency. The classical codependent relationship has built-in problems that begin to arise immediately. The problem with this completed person, this zero, that both people think they have reached, is that it has taken two people to make this one whole person, one supplying the female energy and one supplying the male. This one whole person consequently has two heads or egos. Both people want to run this whole person they have created, and so, just as in childhood, both people want to command the other, as if the other were themselves. This kind of illusion of completeness always breaks down into a power struggle, and in the end, each person must take the other for granted, and even invalidate them so that they can lead this whole self in the direction they want to go. But of course that doesn't work, at least not anymore. Perhaps in the past, one of the partners was willing to submit themselves to the other, usually the woman, sometimes the man. But we are waking up now. No one wants to be subservient to anyone else any longer. We can still have romance, but first, we have to complete the circle on our own. We have to stabilize our channel with the universe. That takes time, but afterward, we are never susceptible to this problem again, and we could have what the Manuscript calls a higher relationship. When we connect romantically with another whole person after that, we create a super person, but it never pulls us from the path of our individual evolution.
Higher relationships. By resisting the love at first sight feeling for a while, by learning to have platonic relationships with members of the opposite sex, remember the process. You must have these relationships only with people who will reveal themselves totally, telling you how and why they are doing what they are doing, just as this would have happened with the opposite sex parent during an ideal childhood. By understanding who these opposite sex friends really are on the inside, one breaks past one's own fantasy projection about that gender. And that releases us to connect again with the universe. Remember, also, that this is not easy, especially if one has to break away from a current codependent relationship. It is a real pulling apart of energy. It hurts, but it must be done. Codependence is not some new malady some of us have. We are all codependent, and we're all growing out of it now. The idea is to begin to experience that sense of well-being and euphoria experienced in the first moment of a codependent relationship when you are alone. You get to have him or her on the inside. After that, you evolve forward and can find that special romantic relationship that really fits you. Energizing others. How we approach other people determines how quickly we evolve, how quickly our life questions are answered. Help people by opening them up. Fill them with warmth and energy. By lifting others up and helping them get clear, we can search for the truth, the message that the other person has for us. Energizing another person is the best thing you can do for yourself. Whenever people cross our paths, there is always a message for us. Chance encounters do not exist, but how we respond to these encounters determines whether we are able to receive the message. If we have a conversation with someone who crosses our path and we do not see a message pertaining to our current questions, it does not mean that there was no message. It only means we missed it for some reason. There are no coincidences. If you run into someone you know unexpectedly, especially in a strange place, that Manuscript says to stop what we are doing, no matter what, and find out the message we have for that person, and that the person has for us. The Manuscript predicts that once humans grasp this reality, our interaction will slow down and become more purposeful and deliberate. How to fill someone with energy. Recall in the third insight that humans are unique in a world of energy in that they can project their energy consciously. It is done by appreciating the beauty of an object until enough energy comes into us to feel love. At that point, we can send energy back. The same holds for people. When we appreciate the shape and demeanor of a person, really focus on them until their shape and features begin to stand out and to have more presence. We can then send them energy, lifting them up.
Steps to fill a person with energy. The first step is to keep our own energy high. Then we can start the flow of energy coming into us, through us, and into the other person. The more we appreciate their wholeness, their inner beauty, the more the energy flows into them, and naturally, the more that flows into us. Yes, you can consider it hedonistic. The more we can love and appreciate others, the more energy flows into us. That's why loving and energizing others is the best possible thing we can do for ourselves. The effect on the individual of this projection of energy is immense. When you fill someone with energy, they can feel a greater sense of lightness and clarity as they are formulating their thoughts to speak. When you give more energy than the person would have otherwise, they can then see what their truth is and more readily give it to you. When that happens, you'll have a sense of revelation about what the other person is saying. This leads you to see their higher self even more fully, and so appreciate and focus on it at an even deeper level, which returns even more energy and greater insight into their truth, and the cycle begins over again. 2 or more people doing this together can reach incredible highs as they build one another up and have it immediately returned. This connection is completely different from a codependent relationship. A codependent relationship begins this way, but soon becomes controlling because the addiction cuts them off from their source and the energy runs out. Real projection of energy has no attachment or intention. Both people are just waiting for the messages.
How to interact with people operating in a controlled drama. The manuscript says if you do not assume the matching drama, then the person's own drama will fall apart. Each person's controlled drama was formed in a childhood in relation to another drama. Therefore, each drama needs a matching drama to be fully played out. But the intimidator needs, in order to get energy, is either a poor me or another intimidator. Name the drama the other person is playing. All dramas are covert strategies to get energy. The manuscript says that the covert manipulations for energy can't exist if you bring them into consciousness by pointing them out. They cease to be covert. It is a very simple method. The best truth about what's going on in a conversation always prevails. After that, the person has to be more real and honest. The key to making it work is to simultaneously look beyond the drama at the real person in front of you and send as much energy their way as possible. If they can feel energy coming in anyway, then it's easier for them to give up their way of manipulating for it.
Staying alert for messages. Remember, no one is here by accident. Stay alert for the messages. Don't forget the third insight. The universe is energy. Energy that responds to our expectations. People are part of that energy universe too. So when we have a question, the people show up are those who have the answer. If we could talk with everyone long enough, we would find a truth each had for us, some part of the answer to our questions. Get it into your head. Everyone who crosses our path has a message for us. Otherwise, they would have taken another path or left earlier or later. The fact that people are wherever you are means that they are there for some reason. The hard part is figuring out who to take the time to talk to, when talking with everyone is impossible. How do you decide? The manuscript says there are signs. The manuscript says we will learn that sudden, spontaneous eye contact is a sign that two people should talk. When it happens, most people just forget about it and go on with what they are doing. What other signs does the manuscript mention? A sense of recognition. Seeing someone who looks familiar, even though you know you've never seen the person before. Does the manuscript say anything about why some people look familiar? Not much. It just says we are members of the same thought group with certain other people. Thought groups are usually evolving along the same lines of interest. They think the same, and that creates the same expression and outward experience. We intuitively recognize members of our thought group, and very often they provide messages for us. Don't resist the idea of walking up to someone and starting a conversation. When you are appreciating someone at a deeper level, you can see their most honest self beyond any facades they may put up. When you really focus at this level, you can perceive what someone is thinking as a subtle expression on their face. This is perfectly natural. Telepathy is perfectly natural.
Group energy. Some people get inflated when in a group. They feel the power of an idea and express it. Then because that burst of energy feels so good, they keep on talking, long after the energy should have shifted to someone else. They try to monopolize the group. Others are pulled back, and even when they feel the power of an idea, they won't risk saying it. When this happens, the group fragments and the members don't get the benefit of all the messages. The same thing happens when some members of the group are not accepted by some of the others. The rejected individuals are prevented from receiving the energy, and so the group misses the benefit of their ideas. How people are excluded is so important. When we dislike someone or feel threatened by someone, the natural tendency is to focus on something we dislike about the person, something that irritates us. Unfortunately, when we do this, instead of seeing the deeper beauty of the person and giving them energy, we take energy away and actually do them harm. All they know is that they suddenly feel less beautiful and less confident, and it is because we sapped their energy. That is why this process is so important. Humans are aging each other at a tremendous rate with their violent competitions. In a truly functional group, the idea is to do the opposite of this. The idea is for every member's energy and vibration to increase because of the energy sent by all of the others. When this occurs, everyone's individual energy field merges with everyone else's and makes one pool of energy. It is as if the group is just one body, but one with many heads. Sometimes one head speaks for the body, sometimes another talks. But in a group functioning this way, each individual knows when to speak and what to say, because he truly sees life more clearly. This is a higher person, the eighth insight, talked about in connection with a romantic relationship between a man and a woman. But other groups can form one as well. The ninth insight was going to reveal where we humans were going with this evolution, how humans would be acting toward each other as a result of the manuscript.
Eighth insight recap. It's about a way of relating to other people, to children and to adults. It's about naming control dramas and breaking through them and focusing on other people in a way that sends them energy. If we are observant about who to talk with, then we get the answers we desire as a result. One person can uplift another. Part of the eighth insight is learning to interact consciously when in a group. As the members of a group talk, only one will have the most powerful idea at any one point in time. If they are alert, the others in the group can feel who is about to speak, and then they can consciously focus their energy on this person, helping to bring out his idea with the greatest clarity. Then, as the conversation proceeds, someone else will have the most powerful idea, then someone else, and so forth. If you concentrate on what is being said, you can feel when it's your turn. The idea will come up into your mind. The key to this process is to speak up when it is your moment and to project energy when it is someone else's time. That is the end of the review of the eighth insight. Subscribe to be notified when the video about the ninth insight is available.